All right, let's take a look at that first one. We are graphing the function here. Is that vertex form or standard form? Vertex form. So remember, vertex form is f of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. So we're going to pick out our vertex. The h value is always the opposite of the number in front of here. So what's the opposite of negative 6? And then the k value is going to be exactly what the number is behind it, which in this case is negative 2. So we want to plot that point first. Yeah, I'm going to put vertex form, standard form, and then the negative b over 2a on the board. So let's plot the point 6, negative 2. And then remember what we did is we chose 2 points to the right and 2 points to the left. So think of your number line. What would be the next 2 numbers to the right of 6? 7 and 8, yep. And then 2 numbers to the left of 6 would be, yep. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug each number in to our function that they gave us to figure out what the matching y values are. So I'm going to take the f of x. Remember, f of x is the same thing as y. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by plugging in 7. What's 7 minus 6? 1. And then 1 squared is 1, and 1 minus 2 is going to give me negative 1. Okay, so for 7, it's going to be negative 1. Then we're going to plug in 8. 8 minus 6 is 2. 2 squared is 4, and 4 minus 2 is 2. And then for 5 and 4, I should get the same 2 numbers, right? For 5, what did we get? Negative 1, and then 4 we got 2. And so then we're just going to plot those points. 7, negative 1, 8, 2, 5, negative 1, 4, 2. And do we have the shape that we're supposed to have? Yeah. My a value is positive, so it should be opening up, which it is. Everybody okay with that one? Okay. Number 2 is in what form? Standard, right? So remember that looks like this. That is f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And then to find h, we have to use the negative b over 2a. And yes, I'll give you that for the quiz tomorrow. A is the number in front of x squared. B is the number in front of x. So it is the, the opposite of b. What is b? Negative 8. Okay. Over 2 times a. What is a? Negative 1. So then that's going to give me that's a positive 8 over negative 2, which divides to be how much? Negative 4. And then what do we do with that? Plug it in. Now be careful when you plug it in. We are plugging it in here. Everywhere there is an x, we're plugging in negative 4. But remember, this x has a negative in front. That is not the negative that goes with the 4. It is separate. And we need to be careful with these. Okay, obviously, if you get a number that's not going to fit on your graph, you did something wrong, because I'm not going to give you something that won't fit on the grid that I provide. Okay, so let's start with our squaring. This negative 1 stays. What is negative 4 squared? 16. Okay. Then I can multiply. Negative 1 times 16 is negative 16. What's negative 8 times negative 4? Positive 32. So then I'm going to work this out. Negative 16 plus 32 is 16 minus 12, and 16 minus 12 is 4. So my vertex for this one is negative 4, positive 4. Keep in mind, if you know how to use your calculator when you do the plugging in, as long as you enter it exactly as it looks, so like enter it with your parentheses, the calculator will do the work for you if the simplifying part confuses you. All right, plotting the point, negative 4, positive 4. Then we need to choose our values that we're going to plug in again. What are the two numbers to the right of negative 4? Negative 3 and negative 2. And then to the left would be? Okay. All right, so again, we're plugging all of these in. I'm going to start with negative 3. Then we square what's negative 3 squared? 9. Okay, keeping that there. Negative 1 times 9 is negative 9. Negative 8 times negative 3 is a positive 24. Negative 9 plus 24 is 15, and 15 minus 12 is going to be 3. And then we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to plug in negative 2 this time. Negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Negative 8 times negative 2 is a positive 16 minus 12. Negative 4 plus 16 is 12. And 12 minus 12 gives me 0. And then I should get the same two numbers for the negative 5 and the 6. And then we can just plot our points. Negative 3, 3. Negative 2, 0. Negative 5, 3. And negative 6, 0. Is my graph supposed to be upside down here? Yes. All right, go ahead and start working on the next two. This one is to just find the vertex and then tell me whether it opens up or down. This is where you're going to use the negative b over 2a again. Do you use the calculator? No. So what I want you to do and then we're just going to go that exactly. Make sure you get it. Yeah, that's just the format, and then you just plug it in here. Okay, we're finding the vertex and determining whether the graph opens up or down. You're using the opposite of b over 2a. Again, I will give that to you for the quiz tomorrow. And you determine whether it opens up or down by what value? A. If A is positive, it opens up. If A is negative, it opens down. Yeah, any number. It's just on the graph, you won't get really big numbers. Yeah. This right here. Mm-hmm. H is that's what you're trying to find. Yeah. Again, to determine the vertex when it is in standard form, we're going to use the opposite of B over 2A. So A is going to be 3, B is 18. Does everybody agree with that? Okay, so we're going to set it up to find H. It is the opposite of B over 2 times A. So that's negative 18 over 6, which reduces to be what? Negative 3. Okay, so in my vertex, the H value is negative 3. And then again, everywhere there is an X, I'm going to plug in at negative 3, bless you. And then, again, if you're not good with the simplifying, just enter it in the calculator exactly as it looks and let the calculator do the work for you. If I'm not asking you to graph, the numbers can be any size. They can be larger numbers, okay? It's only the graphs that are going to be small to be able to fit on there. So then, again, if you're not good at the simplifying parts, just use the tools you have, meaning the calculator. Let's see, 9 times 3 is 7. 18 times negative 3 is negative. Thank you. And then I can work through this. 27 minus 54 is negative 27. And negative 27 minus 5 gives me negative 32. So my vertex for this parabola is going to be negative 3, negative 32. And then to determine if it opens up or down, I look at A. Is A positive or negative? Positive, so this graph is going to open up. Yes, ma'am. Where'd the what? I did 27 minus 54, which gave me the negative 27. Skylar? This is the standard form, yeah. H is the vertex, the X value of the vertex, yeah. Is everybody okay with that one? All right, let's do the same thing for 4. What is A in 4? Negative 2. And what is B? Negative 12. Okay. So to find H, it's going to be the opposite of B over 2 times A. The opposite of negative 12 is positive 12. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And 12 divided by negative 4 gives me negative 3. Maybe. Okay, so we're going to plug it in this time. Let me just change the numbers. So this time it is negative 2 out front minus 12 times x plus 3. And again, if you're not good with the simplifying, let the calculator do your work. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. Negative 12 times negative 3 is a positive 36. What's negative 18 plus 36? 18. And 18 plus 3 is 21. So my vertex for this one is going to be the ordered pair negative 3, 21. And then is this graph going to open up or down? Up. Down, right? Because A is negative. Everybody okay with that? Sort of. All right, the next two, you're going to use the vertex and the point that it goes through to write the equation. Remember, that's where we plug the vertex in for h and k. We plug the ordered pair in for x and y. We solve for a, and then you write your equation. That's what we did a couple days ago. Take a couple minutes and work on those. Okay, so remember on these, the form that we're going to use, and get my stuff to write would be working, is the vertex form. F of x equals a times x minus h squared plus k. But what is f of x the same thing as? Y. So we really want to use it as y because that allows me to see where everything gets plugged in. The vertex is represented by the letters h and k. Come on. There we go. And then the ordered pair is x and y. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use that vertex form, the y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. We're going to plug all of those numbers in so that we can figure out what a is. So for y, I get 5 equals a times my x is 3 minus my h of 2 squared plus my k, but my k happens to be negative, so we're going to put a minus there. And remember, we work inside of our parentheses first. What is 3 minus 2? 1, okay. Then we're going to do 1 squared. What is 1 squared? 1, and 1 times a is just a. And then we can solve that by just adding my 3 over. So what does it tell me a is? 8, right? And then once we have a, we plug h, k, and a in, but not x and y. X and y turn back to our variables. So it is going to be y equals my a value of 8, the variable x, minus my h value squared, and then my k value. And that is the equation of the parabola that has that vertex going through that point. So it's 1 squared times a, not minus 3. Multiplication comes before subtraction. Okay. So you square a, or you square the 1, multiply by a. Okay. Is everybody kind of okay with that one? All right. Same thing with 6. Our vertex is h and k. Our ordered pair is x and y. And we're going to plug those in. So my y value negative 10 equals a times x of 0 minus my h squared, and then my k is a negative again. So that's going to be negative 10 equals a. What's 0 minus 3? Negative 3. And then if I square negative 3, what is that? Okay. And don't forget, once you square that number, it's getting multiplied by a. So we said negative 3 squared was 9. What is 9 times a? 9a. And then we can continue to solve that for a. I'm going to add my 1 over, and I'm going to have to come over to the side. What's negative 10 plus 1? Negative 9. That's going to equal 9a. Then we're going to divide both sides by 9. So what is a going to be here? Negative 1. And then once we have a, we just go back and write our equation, plugging the variable y in. I'm going to put -1 for a, plug in the variable x, minus my h value squared, and then my k value. Remember, you don't have to put the 1 there, but you do have to put the negative. I'm going to give you standard form, vertex form, and negative b over 2a. Okay? All right, now this is what we need to decide, because I don't know that we can go through all of the rest of these in the 15 minutes we have left. So what do you think we need more focus on, writing the equation or getting the answers? Like the second part where we just find the zeros, or the third part, or the last part where you write the equations? The fraction thing? Okay. Let's do this. Let's do 7 and 9. Okay? We'll just do a couple of each of these. And then I'll just give you the answers for the others, and you can do those in a minute. Okay, so let's work on 7 and 9 first, the zeros. Sometimes they're factored for you. Remember, the exponents tell us our multiplicity. Yeah, 7 and 9. I'll go back and give you the answers to 8 and 10 in just a few minutes. That way you can have those to look at. But to be able to do at least a couple of these in class together. And then we will do, we'll definitely do 14. Maybe 13 and 14, and then I'll let you do 11 and 12 on your own and give you those answers. Okay, so we're working on 7 and 9. Is 7 already factored for me? Yeah, okay, so remember with this, we're going to look at each set of factors. This is x minus 7. Remember that y is going to turn to 0. So what we do is we set x minus 7 equal to 0, and then we set x plus 10 equal to 0. And we're going to solve each one of those for x. The first one I'm going to add, and so I get x equals 7. The second one I subtract, so I get x equals -10. But then the way we write our answers, I'm going to write it right above it. How many times is 7 a solution? 3, because of that exponent. So when I write 7, I'm going to put a multiplicity of 3. What is my other answer? -10, and that's going to be a multiplicity of 2. Yep. Okay, so that's for number 7. You get 7 with a multiplicity of 3 and -10 with a multiplicity of 2. And then for 9, is that one already factored for me? Mm-mm. So we got to start the factoring process. What is the very first thing we look for when we factor? GCF. What does x to the third minus 4x squared minus 5x have in common? An x, so let's pull that out first. And then I need to factor that trinomial. Is that the easier trinomial or the harder one? Easy. We want numbers that multiply to give us 5 and subtract to give us 4. What numbers multiply to give us 5 and subtract to give us 4? 1 and 5, yep. Are my signs the same or different? Different, and the first one goes in front of the bigger number. So it's going to be -5 and +1. Everybody okay with that? All right, now I'm going to come over to the side because I just don't have room underneath. Remember, we take each one of these factors, we set it equal to 0, and we solve. So I'm going to set x equal to 0. I'm going to set x plus 1 equal to 0. And I'm going to set x minus 5 equal to 0. Do any of my answers happen more than once? No, so I shouldn't have any multiplicities here. What is the first one going to be? 0. And then if I solve the second one, it's going to be -1. And then if I solve that third one, it is 5. So my 3 zeros for that one, if I could get my pen to write properly, are going to be 0, -1, and 5. Don't have to write multiplicity because they didn't happen more than once. Are we okay with that? All right. Go ahead and work on 13. I think you can do 13. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll do 14 together. And then we'll come back and give you the answers to the other ones. Okay, so start. Okay, so remember the very first thing we're going to do is for each answer that they give, we're going to set it equal to x. So I'm going to do x equals 0 twice, x equals -1, and x equals 8. And then what we want to do is make each one of these equal to 0, but the first two are already equal to 0, right? So we don't have to do anything there, just bring those down. How do I move the 1 over? Add it. So that's going to become x plus 1, right? How do I move the 8 over? Subtract. So that's going to become x minus 8. Then what we do is we take each one of the things that are equal to 0 and we're going to multiply them. So if I have, starting with the two x's that equal 0, what is x times x? What should I put in the front? X squared. Okay. Then I'm going to put x plus 1 times x minus 8. I would leave the x squared till the very end, so I would focus on multiplying out these two first. Don't lose the x squared, it's still got to stay in the front, but we want to distribute here. X times x is x squared. X times -8 is -8x. 1 times x is positive. 1x. And then 1 times -8 is -8. And before I distribute, I'm going to combine my terms. What's a -8x plus 1x going to give me? And now that I have those two multiplied, now I can distribute the x squared to each piece in the parentheses. So that's going to be x to the 4th minus 7x to the 3rd, maybe, and then minus 8x squared, and that is just going to be equal to 0. You have to put it equal either 0, y, or f of x. Yeah, because if you don't put an equal sign, it's not an equation. Is everybody okay with 13? All right, I got 5 minutes to get through 14. You think we can do it? Okay. Yep. You're going to lose a point. Yeah. All right, again, set each one of these equal to x. Come on. Now think about this, what we did yesterday. So the very first thing we wanted to do was get rid of the fractions because we don't want fractions in our equation. So I'm going to start and do each one individually, starting with the first one. What do I multiply to get rid of that denominator? 3. Okay, so we're going to multiply both sides of this by 3. So that is going to be 3x. Remember, those 3's cancel, equals -2. How do I make that equal to 0? Add the 2 over. Yep. So this one is 3x plus 2 equals 0. So that's the first one. Then we're going to do the same thing for the middle one. What do I multiply by on the middle one? 4. Those are going to cancel. That's going to be 4x equals 1. Then how do I move the 1 over? Subtract it, yep. And so that's going to be 4x minus 1 equals 0. And then the last one I have to multiply both sides by 2. Those 2's cancel. That leaves me with 2x minus or equals negative 1. How do I move the 1 over? Add it. So that's going to give me 2x plus 1 equals 0. I no longer have fractions, so we don't have to be scared anymore. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take these 3 binomials, we're going to put them in parentheses, and we're going to multiply them out. You can only do 2 at a time. It doesn't matter which 2 you start with. Just be very careful with your multiplying, making sure that you check your signs, because one little sign error will throw the whole problem off. I'm going to start by multiplying these 2 together. 3x times 4x is 12x squared. 3x times negative 1 is negative 3x. 2 times 4x is 8x. And 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. Now, yesterday I had a lot of people multiplying it like this, which is perfectly fine. But if you don't combine the like terms, it's going to give you more terms that you have to worry about, which gets a little bit more confusing. So before I continue to multiply, I'm going to combine my terms inside this first parenthesis. What is a negative 3x and a positive 8x going to give me? Positive 5x. Now I'm ready to multiply. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to distribute. This 12x squared gets multiplied by the 2x and by the 1. The 5x gets multiplied by the 2x and the 1. And then the negative 2 gets multiplied by the 2x and also the 1. And then we combine our terms. 24x to the third. That's going to be what, plus 22x squared plus 1x minus 2. If you don't put your equal sign with a 0, a y, or an f of x on it, it is going to lose you a point because the directions say to write an equation. The answers to 8, 10, 11, and 12 are up on the board for you in case you did not get those.